So the first thing that you get from 2 points connected together is a slope. Now, a slope of a line is basically rise over run. And it's talking about how steep something is. Okay? So the equation for a slope of a line, let's go down here. The slope of a line is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, these subscripts here, they refer to the different points. So if this was our point 1, we call this x1, y1. And this was the second point we had, so we're going to call this x2, y2. So it's basically talking about comparing 2 points and getting the slope. So our points here are y2, y1 is -3, y2 is -2. So what we're going to do is sub the numbers in for the symbols. So y2 is -2, y1 is -3. So what we're going to do is go minus -3, x2 was -5, minus x1 was 2. Now, if you remember your negative numbers, a negative and a negative becomes positive. So this becomes this. So -2 plus 3 is 1. -5 minus 2 is -7. So the slope of this the one mistake I did. Let's try this again. This wasn't -2, it was +2. So this guy is +2, so it becomes 5. So be really careful with the negative and positive numbers, okay? So +2 plus 3 becomes 5 over -7. So this is the slope we have right now. We went 5 units up to go from this point to this point. This basically means you go 5 units up, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you go 7 units to the left, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that refers to the slope of a line. Okay. So slope y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is one of the first things you start dealing with when you're dealing with a coordinate system, with equations of a line. The next thing you start dealing with is the midpoint of a line. So for example, if you have 2 points here, if you want to divide this line into 2 equal parts, you want to find the middle. So the midpoint equation becomes we'll put it in there. Midpoint. The midpoint is the midpoint of the x's and the midpoint of the y's. Now the midpoint of the x's is basically the average. So what you're doing is you're going x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That's how you take an average. Just think about what's an average, what's the number between 10 and 20? The number between 10 and 20 is 15. And the way you get that, you go 10 plus 20 and you divide it by 2. So 10 plus 20 is 30, divided by 2 is 15. And that's exactly the same thing you're doing over here. So you go x2 plus x1 over 2 and y2 plus y1 over 2. So x2, we had, what was our x2? We chose that one as being the coordinate point. The second points, and this one as being the first points. So x2 is -5 plus 2. So this guy becomes, let's go down here, -5 plus 2 divided by 2. And for the y, it's y2, which is 2, plus -3 divided by 2. And it's 2 for y2, not -2 like the mistake we did for the slope one. So we got -5 plus 2 is -3 divided by 2. negative 3 divided by 2. And for the y's, it's 2 plus negative 3, which is negative 1 divided by 2. So the midpoint for this line is going to be negative 3 over 2 and negative 1 over 2. Negative 3 over 2 is negative 1.5. So what we're going to do is come to the coordinate system. So the midpoint for this line is going to be negative 3 over 2 and negative 1.5. Negative 3 over 2 is negative 1.5, so we go 1.5 over, and negative 1/2, we go 1/2 down. So we just found the midpoint of a line. Okay, easy. Two things. The slope, super important. And then you have the midpoint, which is just the average between the x's and the y's. Now the third thing that you end up doing with the line is figuring out what the distance is from here to here. The way we do this is a different equation. Now, I'm going to go and recreate this on another wall so we have room, and I'm going to explain to you how the distance works. And the distance is really just a Pythagorean theorem. Okay? So we're going to move on to another fresh wall and continue from there because it's, well, we used up all the space here. And we've got lots of fresh walls around to do some math on. Okay, talk in a bit.